Guys, today we're going to show you how to prune tomatoes. You probably already planted your tomatoes a couple weeks ago and now they've grown a lot due to the warmth and the water and the food and the love that you're giving them. And today we're going to whip them into shape and prune them to a single leader so that they can grow up this string, which is our trellis. This is a tomato that we've already pruned to a single leader. So you can see that this is the top growth point. We have a fruiting cluster, a branch, a branch, a branch. This is the main stem. You can see that my clips are right underneath where a branch comes out of the main stem. And then we have branch, branch, fruiting stem, the main stalk. All right. This is ideally how your tomato should look after you prune it. Notice there are no suckers. All we have is the main growth point up here. We don't have any suckers or other extraneous growth points. And I'll show you how to identify those and prune them out. So here we have a tomato that we have not pruned yet at all. It was planted about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And basically what we're going to do first, we're going to prune out all of the suckers, which are basically extraneous growth points that are lower down on the main stem. So here we have the main stalk, and we have a branch coming out, very lovely here. We have a fruiting stalk right here. Coming out at a 45-degree angle between the branch and the main stalk. Let's see, here we have another one. We have a branch here, the main stalk, 45-degree angle. That is a sucker. It's going to look similar to the top of the tomato because it is a growth point. And if you left it to its own devices, it would get quite big. Over here, we have a pretty large sucker. See how similar? This is the top of the tomato over here, and this is the sucker. So they can be kind of difficult to tell apart when your tomatoes are growing really fast and getting big, you know, in the middle of the summer really fast. But we want to prune them out so that we have a single leader. You're going to get larger fruit that's going to ripen faster. And your plant is going to be healthier at the end of the season because you don't have a dense canopy where it's struggling to dry out after a rain and you get lots of fungus and disease issues kind of percolating in there. So first we take a nice pair of clean scissors. You always want to sanitize your scissors after you've pruned something else, especially if it's kind of funky and might have fungal issues. So I like to prune from the top down because the top is usually mostly disease-free and the bottom might have a little funkiness. So we're gonna prune off when the suckers are really, really small like this. You can just kind of pinch them off. That's when they're super tiny. When they are a little bit bigger, you do want to use scissors to cut them, but you want to leave a little nub when you cut it, so anywhere between 1 centimeter and 1 inch. Leave a little nub there so that if the wound gets infected, it doesn't go into the main stem.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, so right here we have your fruiting stem, and we have this sucker. If you can see that, I'm going to cut it about 1 inch away. That whole piece is coming out. And I'm going to cut these. There are a lot of little suckers lower down. So we're going to cut those off as well. Keep my bucket over here. And then lastly, you're going to prune up some of the bottom branches. If any of the branches are dragging on the ground, they're coming into contact with the soil, they're a little bit disease ridden, or just don't look that great, they kind of look old and weathered, you can cut those off too. Any branch that's below the first fruiting cluster, or the fruiting cluster that's ripening, can be taken off if it doesn't look great. So now we're going to clip our tomato in that we've just pruned to a single leader. We have these clips from Johnny's that kind of grip onto the twine with little teeth here in the armpit of the clip, and we're going to locate the clip right under a branch around the main stalk. So first I kind of hold the tomato upright, I pull the twine taut, I put the little teeth right around the twine and then clip it in right underneath the branch. The bottom one is kind of the anchor, and then you can put another clip up, you know, a couple branches up from the last one. Maybe 8 to 12 inches depending on how much some support you think it needs. I would say one of the first rules of tomato pruning when you're just learning is if you get towards the top of the plant, I would say anywhere in the top 12 inches of the plant, and you're not really sure if what you're cutting is the sucker or the main leader, just leave it alone, let it grow out for a while, and it will be made clear eventually. So here's a tomato that I'm actually allowing to grow out into 2 liters. So I've trained this sucker. This is actually sucker growing out of the main tomato because it's at a 45-degree angle between the branch and the main stalk. But I'm allowing this to grow out because it's a cherry variety and they just grow so fast. If you do this though, you need to allow appropriate space for the tomato to grow. Definitely in the row you want to give each stalk at least 18 inches between that and the next fruiting stem. So you can, you know, train your tomatoes out to more than 1 liter, but you just need to give it some space. So that is kind of the 411 on pruning tomatoes to a single liter. Just one last thing that you'll want to keep in mind is this method is only appropriate for indeterminate tomatoes. Determinate tomatoes, they only grow, you know, they don't grow very tall. They have a single fruit set and it's not appropriate to prune them to a single liter. You won't get that many tomatoes out of it if you do, so just make sure that the tomatoes you're pruning are indeterminate. In a couple weeks we'll be back with more tips on pruning tomatoes and how to lower them when they climb to the top of the string and there's not anywhere else to go. Also, if you haven't seen our first little video on how to string up the tomatoes and how to use the clips, please go back and watch that and it'll probably clarify a couple things in this video too. Thanks so much. Bye.